Hey there, this is Kevin, and we're on Agua Bago this afternoon, and the task at hand is to decant some cooking gas or LPG gas from an Indonesian tank into a US or Australian tank. The US tank, empty, quite light. We have an Indonesian tank, which is full, 12 kilograms, quite heavy. We have some dish soap in a spray bottle. We'll spray that down to check for leaks. Some wrench for attaching, some rope for lifting the source LPG tank higher than the receiving tank, screwdriver for bleeding the receiving tank, a hose, and the hose has this fitting goes into the US tank, and this fitting here will go onto the Indonesian tank. First time I tried this, I was unsuccessful. I used this for attaching to the Indonesian tank, and this has a diaphragm on it which will only let a couple psi of gas past it, and we need a straight through fitting, so we've switched over to this fitting here. And then so the first thing we're going to do is just kind of hook everything up and pressurize it to check for leaks. And now the system's pressurized. And we have about 2 meters of hose here between the two. This tank is closed right now, so nothing's going through. And what I want to do is just kind of put some soap and check for leaks. Now we see there's a leak coming out right here, so we're gonna have to fix that. As you saw from that other leak, if it is leaking, it bubbles up, and it's pretty readily apparent. Although there's lots of bubbles just from the soap coming out of the spray bottle, those bubbles died down, and I don't see any other leaks. You can see some bubbles there, and so all I'm doing, like I said, is just kind of bleeding out the air that's in this line, so that I just have LPG in the line, and then I will just tighten that back up. And as I said before, you really, as you can see just by the bubbles here, alright, everything's looking good, no leaks. The next thing that I will do is I'm going to weigh each one of these tanks with my scales here. I'll use pounds just because it gives me more resolution, but you could use kilograms, whatever. We've got 12 kilograms in there, we've got 0 in here, but we do need to get the kind of residual or initial weight of both of these that takes into account the weight of the tanks. 8.4 pounds. And so the empty tank is 14.3 pounds. So anyway, I've got it kind of tied off so it's not rattling around. And so the next step here is to just open the valve, and I don't know if you can hear the hissing, but it's hissing pretty well, which means there's quite a bit going through there. And I can come over here and put my hand on the valve over here, and it's cold. So as things decrease in pressure, this will get colder, and as this increases in pressure, it will get hotter. It's a cloudy day. There's some recommendations to try and get the donor tank in the sun to keep it warm, and to take the receiving tank and put it in the shade or put wet blankets on it. We'll just let this run for a little bit here. For about 15 minutes. The tank was making a lot of noise when it first started, and now it seems to have quieted down a bit. Alright, it's gone up to 20 pounds, so we've taken on 6 pounds of fluid. This is LPG, that stands for liquid petroleum gas, so the liquid will flow. But the problem here is that there is gas in this tank here, and so there's this little bleeder valve here, and what we're going to do is we're going to just crack it a little bit and bleed some of the gas out. so that the liquid can flow. And so you can smell gas there. You can smell it, but it's coming out. But by bleeding off some of this, smells like I'm losing gas, but actually I'm just bleeding off some of the gas, because what I really want is the liquid to flow down from the other tank. Alright, we've been filling here and we've got some time on our hands. I don't know if you can see this or not. It says on the tank TW 13.0. So TW is called tare weight, which is the weight of the tank when it's empty. And then WC 47.7. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but WC is water capacity, which is if the tank was filled with water, what the weight would be. Roughly there's a conversion, but 47.7 pounds of water is equal to 20 pounds of propane. And then this DT is capacity in gallons, so 4.6. And roughly 14 pounds in this, and if I can get anywhere north of 15 pounds, I'm gonna call it a success. Alright, we've been filling this tank for a little bit over an hour, and the trick seems to be to periodically bleed this, and bleed it so you start seeing some mist coming out. So quite a bit of gas can come out, and at some point in time it'll start spitting a little bit of mist, and that's when I stop. So as you can see, I'm bleeding this for quite a few seconds now. It's starting to mist, starting to spit a little bit, so I'm going to turn it off. Okay, we have seemed to stabilize here around 28 pounds, almost 29 pounds. My objective was to get 15 pounds into this 20-pound tank, and I'm going to call this success. I've got another tank here that I'm going to try and fill off the same donor bottle. One quick comment on the hose. This is the Indonesian fitting. I've already taken this fitting off and put it back in my barbecue. But I used 2 meters here, and next time when I do this, I'm going to chop that down to 1 meter, or basically as short as I can get away with. And the reason being was when I turned things off, this line was full of fluid and propane, so there was some propane loss there, and you're never going to be able to get it all out when you turn it off and you're switching tanks, so that is lost. So minimizing the length of this line will just give you a little bit more fluid and a little bit less waste. The last step here is to weigh the source donor tank. 33.6. We started with something like 58, so maybe 24 pounds. We'll call that 10.9 kilos. This is a 12 kilo tank, so we got most of it, and using this technique, I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's really difficult to get it all because there's always going to be some residual pressure in the source tank, but getting that much is definitely a win, and I'll definitely do this technique again.